don't see it happening as well for Marcus Mariota.
So I just got one of the messages from the chat just said Russell Wilson's camp is asking for a trade. Is that true?
Well, I'm not racist. It's not necessarily exactly a trade request. It's more offloading the idea for a trade. So we're still back in that notion that his offensive line is not protecting him well enough. And aside from that, there hasn't much word from Russell Wilson's camp from that statement. But one statement like that can already cause dysfunction within the Seattle's organization, the Seahawks organization already, because the trust is not there. And they can explore the trade for Russell Wilson. I see some write-ups wherein they are putting his value at least 3 first-round draft choices for Russell Wilson, which I find that is not an accurate value because he's older. He's an older quarterback. You don't know how many years you can get out of him. I mean, he's hurt, and he's not really. He won't give you enough years to justify those 3 first-round draft choices. So, and also he has a no trade clause, so he would have to choose his destination. So that would be hard for Seattle to find a suitor for Russell Wilson. Yeah. So the idea has been floated. Yeah, that's the biggest reason.
Yeah, he's a jerk. I don't like Russell Wilson.
Yeah. So I believe that Russell Wilson will stay in Seattle. It's just hard to move his contract and move his deal, and he just has to eat up his words. And of course, for the benefit of the Seahawks, they have to improve the offensive line as well, so as to shut him up.
Well, look, that's been an issue there. It's not like the Seahawks haven't tried to improve their offensive line. Like, it's a misnomer out there to assume that the Seahawks have just not tried to fix their offensive line. They've tried. It just hasn't worked out very well. But, I mean, here's really what the truth is. Russell Wilson has Ben Roethlisberger syndrome from before. He tries to do everything himself. You know, Ben's first 4 or 5 years in the NFL, he led the NFL in sacks. He was sacked more than anybody. And you can blame the offensive line, which wasn't great, but you have to be realistic in the fact that Ben Roethlisberger used to hang on to the ball longer than anybody. And Russell Wilson does the same thing. And he's constantly breaking the pocket at the first sign of what he thinks could be someone breaking through. Sometimes it's not somebody breaking through. It's just Russell saying, oh, shit, I'm only 5'11". I can't see anymore, and I got to get out of here. He breaks the pocket. He breaks that barrier that's around him, and he lets himself get sacked a lot outside the pocket. That happens a lot when you watch Seattle games. And it's the one reason that I don't actually like Russell Wilson's game. Now, I don't want to criticize Russell Wilson because he's obviously a superstar, but the reality of it is some of those sacks have fallen upon Russell Wilson. So, look, I think I read a statistic the other day that Russell Wilson has been sacked 40 or more times 8 years in a row. So, at some point, you have to think to yourself, have they not had an offensive line there in 8 years? Because it seems like he's got enough time most of the year. The beginning part of the year, he was crushing it. He had plenty of time then. What happened? So, look, I don't know. No one's going to trade for him. That's not true. A lot of people are going to want to trade for him. Seattle's not going to trade him unless they just get 5 first-round draft choices because that's a $39 million cap hit this year. Mm-hmm. So I think it's an unattainable trade in my opinion. I don't think that's ever going to happen.
Yeah, the money itself alone is just astronomical. I mean, he is worth $32 million this year, and for the next 2 years, whoever team gets him will have to pay $37 and $40 million. So that's $87 million in 2 years. Whoever gets him, should he be traded? And the problem with Russell Wilson's game is that his height has just been a liability all throughout his career. I mean, he was good throughout the early years, but throughout part of his career, his height has been a liability because he couldn't see downfield that much. So he had to scramble. And if he does get out of the pocket, he'll get hit, he'll get sacked. And that's why part of the blame also of getting sacked too often also lies on him, on Russell Wilson himself. Because, well, you couldn't fault him for being that tall or lack of height, that is, vertical height. And he just have to do with his physical skill set.
Yeah, I agree. The Dolphins, the Jets, the Saints, and the Raiders have all talked about Russell Wilson. Some people around the league are saying that a trade could happen. So this is huge news. Now, we talk all the time about how this could be spun by somebody. So, this isn't real. We always assume some of these things aren't real. These things could be spun into something different. If I'm Seattle and you're telling me you're going to send me Tua, who's basically Russell Wilson light, and you're going to send me, 3 first-round draft picks along with it, one of which is the 3rd overall pick this year, I'm talking. I'm having that conversation. I am having that conversation right now because if there's a quarterback I like, I take the quarterback. And then I find a trade partner for somebody that'll give me something for Tua. Maybe I pick up another second rounder from somebody like Pittsburgh or the Saints for Tua. Or maybe I end up getting a first rounder from the Saints. I end up with 3 first rounders this year. And I got tons and tons and tons of potential to really rebuild my team pretty fast. I get to pick a quarterback 3rd. I get the Dolphins. I think they're 26, and the Saints are at 28. I think that's they're somewhere in there. I may have messed those numbers up, but having 3 picks like that would be enormous. Maybe I start trading back into the next year. Next year I get a first-round pick. This year I get a second-round pick for my first-round picks. There's just so much flexibility in rebuilding your roster. Your fan base loses their mind, and you suffer for a year with a $39 million cap hit. But next year you're starting all over again with a rookie quarterback who got to play this year. It was forced out there. A ton of weapons already on your offensive side, including DK Metcalf, and enough draft picks to be able to really restock your cupboards. So I don't know. I might be wrong. I might be wrong, and this might happen. I don't think it's going to happen, but there's a good chance that it might happen. I just want to tell you, I got that text message. That's interesting, right? So what do you think? Dolphins, Jets, Saints, or Raiders?
Yeah,
who's most likely to get him out of those 4?
So aside from a text message, actually, Pro Football Focus had a tweet that essentially repeated what you mentioned. So,
really?
So it just came out 16 minutes ago. So, who would likely be the trade partner for the Seahawks? Okay. So I would have to cancel out.
Here's your choices. Wait. Here's your choices. Dolphins. Let's just go by what I got in this text. Dolphins, Jets, Saints, or Raiders. Dolphins, Jets, Saints, or Raiders. Go.
Okay. So I would have to cancel one team immediately, and that's the Saints, because I don't want to help another NFC team to basically have a free path to the playoffs if I'm an NFC team.
Well, also, real quick, let me just jump in there. The Saints are like $70 million over the cap right now. So I don't know how they would even be able to get Russell Wilson in there and under the cap. So let me throw that out there really quick. But you have to admit that offense is probably perfectly put together for somebody like Russell Wilson. It was definitely put together for somebody the same size and Drew Brees. And Russell's a little more mobile, so that's definitely an offense for Russell Wilson. But go ahead. So you took out the Saints. Now you got the Raiders, the Jets, and the Dolphins.
Okay, so Raiders, Jets, and the Dolphins. Actually, the most intriguing trade aspect for me, or like the trade team for me here, would be the Dolphins. I mean, they are the most complete team out of the 3. They just had 10 wins last season. Yeah. And apparently, one of the criticisms for that team is in the quarterback position, because Tua wouldn't throw to tight windows. He couldn't throw deep, this and that and this. So if you put a Russell Wilson, who is a proven veteran, and then that improves her offense exponentially, and then draft like a Chase or a Devontae Smith with that 3rd pick, then it's game over for the Miami Dolphins. So if the Dolphins could somehow cling into that number 3 pick, though, because Seattle would want that in terms of their rebuilding, because the moment Russell Wilson leaves the building, that's an automatic rebuild already for Seattle. It's like you're giving up for next season, potentially 2022, and hopefully bounce back 2023. So you're tearing the building down, and once you tear the building down, you would need all of your draft aspects. So if they do trade Wilson to the Miami Dolphins, the Seahawks would definitely want that number 3 pick. Miami can give it because they could find somebody else, a wide receiver, late in the draft, just to give Russell Wilson some weapons in Miami.
Yeah, I agree with everything you just said. I'm just thinking to myself right now, our video editor is going to just have a hell of a time with the show, right?
Yeah.
It's like all over the place. He's going to be sitting there for hours just trying to figure out how to make clips. This is going to be such a shit show for him.